What's up, YouTube? My name is Frank Avalon, and today we're going to be talking about how to get your credit score up. Before we get started, I actually want to talk about how credit score works and what it basically means. So your credit score is basically a ranking of how lenders view how responsible you are with the money that they're going to be lending you. So basically, the higher the credit score, the more likely you are to get loans, the more likely you are to get better interest rates, and the more likely you are to even be able to deal with any of these loans or mortgages or credit cards. Basically, they want to see that you're being responsible with the card, and they want to know that they can trust you. Unfortunately, when you are just starting out building your credit, or if you never really took it serious, mistakes on your credit score can actually last for up to 7 years. The good thing, however, is that although these mistakes don't go away, they do get to be less impactful on your credit score in the long run, year after year. So to dive right in, I'm going to be talking about the first way to basically raise your credit score. The first thing you want to do is actually check your credit score. So if you already have a credit card, this is actually super easy. Most online apps or mobile apps have a little credit score section within the credit card company app. So you go on and then they'll actually give you your FICO score. And this might not be exactly right to the specific point, but it's still going to be generally right, and it's going to let you know at least where you stand. The other huge bonus to this is when you check this, they actually will give you a list of things that you're doing wrong or a list of things that you're doing right. So you can basically see the things that you're doing wrong and attack those and make sure that you correct them. If you don't have a credit card, you can actually still check your credit score by going on sites like Credit Karma, Experian, and freecreditscore.com. So after you've done that, the next step is to actually start working on raising the credit score now that you know where you stand. So the first major thing that these credit card lenders are going to be looking at is that you're actually paying the bills on time. If you're not paying the bills on time, basically to them, you're irresponsible and you're a risk for them to give you money. So basically think of it as if you were going to lend someone money, and would you want to pick someone who you know isn't going to pay you back, or do you want to pick someone who you know is going to pay you right back? The credit card companies and the loan companies and the lenders, they basically view it just like this. If you're not going to pay them back, or you show a history of not paying the basically statements on time or the loans on time, then you're going to be less likely to receive the loans, and you're going to be less likely to have a better interest rate on these loans. Like I was saying, unfortunately, if you do miss a payment, this is actually on your credit score record for up to 7 years. Like I said, though, the good thing is if you correct it now and you never miss a payment again, that missed payment that you have on your record is going to slightly start to be less important as the years go on and on. The next way to make sure that your credit score is up where it needs to be is to start putting some responsible utilities or bills in your name. So right now, if say you're living home and you're not paying rent or anything like that, you still want to make sure that you can get some type of payments in your name that are month after month. So it basically shows lenders that you're responsible. For example, you can do things like a phone bill, car insurance, a car payment. Even if it's a cosign, it'll still help you a little bit. Utilities, if you do live on your own, stuff like that. You want to get some of this stuff in your name to basically build credit and show lenders that you're responsible. The next way to raise your credit score is to make sure that your utilization rate is in check. Basically, what a utilization rate is the sum of all your credit card balances. So say you have 2 credit cards, and you got a couple hundred on this one, a couple hundred on that one, and then they would basically take those amounts that you owe and put that in one category, and that would be what you owe. And then the next category they're going to be looking at as your credit limit. So they compare that with that, and they basically give you a ratio on how you're spending. So for example, if you spend around $1,000 each month and your credit limit is $5,000, you take $1,000 divided by $5,000, and that would give you a ratio of 20%. The basics of this is you basically want to use as little credit as you possibly can within the credit limit that you receive. So if your credit limit is $5,000, it would be much better to only use $1,000 a month than it would be to use $4,000 a month. The lower this ratio is, the better and the more responsible you look in the eyes of the lenders. They don't want to see that if you have a $5,000 limit that you're basically pushing it to the limit every month and you're barely making it, and you're basically like stretching yourself out, and to them this looks irresponsible, and this looks that you're basically kind of like reaching too hard or spending too much for your income and your credit limit. Long story short, if you keep your balances low, typically this is the best way to raise your credit score in this category, because like I said, they want to make sure that you can actually manage the money and be responsible with the credit that they're going to be giving you. A lot of people don't know this, and it is kind of confusing because they give you a credit limit and then you think, okay, this is my limit, I can go up to this. However, they don't tell you that the less you use, the better you look, and if you start using more of the credit limit, it actually looks worse. The next thing you want to do to make sure that your credit score goes up and never down is you don't want to apply for a bunch of credit at once. So say you're watching this video and you're like, wow, I need to start raising my credit, and you go out and you think the best thing to do is to apply for 2 credit cards, a car loan, and some other type of loan. That's definitely not the thing to do. You want to basically show them that you're responsible and do things in increments. So say you get your credit card today, maybe you don't get your next credit card till the end of the year. Maybe you don't get your first car loan till next year. You want to space it out and show them that you're not going to just ram all this money that you owe all at once. If you do go and get a bunch of credit or loans all at once, they're going to basically look at that and say, he needs all this credit. Why is he going to become financially irresponsible? Is he going to be spending more than he's making? And this is basically how they look at it. So the less you do all at once, the better. And you definitely want to make sure that you space it out to raise your credit score and not jam it in all at once. The next thing that these credit score companies and the lenders look at is your length of time that you've had credit. So basically that's why a lot of times I always recommend like getting a credit card or getting some type of credit going as soon as you possibly can, because it does take a long time for them to basically look at you as responsible and enough time under your belt that they can feel you've been consistent enough and now you're ready to get a better credit score. So obviously if you get a credit card for your first time, this year, your credit score is probably not going to be in the 800s anytime soon, because they like to see that you've been holding responsibility to your credit long and many years have gone by that you didn't make any mistakes and that you've been responsible with this type of credit. That's why it really is best to get one as soon as you're 18, or even some of these credit cards you can get when you're 16. Just that way too, because like if you're getting the credit card when you're 18 or 16, you can probably guarantee that your expenses aren't going to be as high as if you started when you were 30. So if you start when you're 18, you can basically get a credit card, put only gas on there, keep your utilization rate low, and get some time under your belt. By the time you're 21, 3 years have been gone already, and now you're looking a lot more responsible than if you were to start when you were 21. And then at that time, you'll have more expenses, and it'll be a lot harder to basically look responsible, especially in the eyes of the utilization rate. Now, one little thing that a lot of people don't know is if you have a credit card that you're not using, or you got 2 or 3 credit cards and you're like, I don't need all of these, you never want to actually close them, because when you close them, this basically cuts into the length of credit that you had, and that'll be erased from your length of credit. For example, if your first card was a Visa and you got that when you were 18, and there's no rewards on it or something like that, and now 3 years later you have better credit cards that you want to use and you want to get rid of this Visa that you started with, definitely just maybe use it once, twice a year, keep it on you, and don't get rid of it, because when you close it out, that basically now shows them that credit that you started with is gone. So now the length would be starting from the time that you got your next credit card. So say you didn't get that next credit card till you were 20, that 18 mark when you first got your first credit card will basically be erased, and now your time is going to be started all over. Also, closing the credit cards kind of also looks a little bit irresponsible, because they're thinking maybe, can you not handle all this credit? Can you not handle the limit? And it's just basically not good to do. One thing I definitely want to talk about, though, that I see a lot, and I see a lot of people having the wrong belief on this topic, is that some people will tell you that you need to carry a credit card balance to build your credit quicker. The reason why people say this is because they believe that by doing so, you're basically throwing the credit card companies a bone and showing them that you can keep a balance and pay it off over time. This is actually not going to raise your credit score, and the only thing it's going to do is make you pay interest on these credit cards, and that's when you hear all these bad basically stereotypes about credit cards, where people get them, they become irresponsible with them, they start paying a ton of interest. Next thing you know, they're in over their head and they owe more money than they can possibly pay. And this is the problem that happens with credit cards. That's why at the end of each month, you want to pay the credit card balance off in full, be done with it. This will also help your utilization rate. So it's basically helping you in a bunch of categories just by doing that. And then credit cards, basically, if you're doing this method, are free to use, where if you are paying the interest, that's when it starts becoming expensive just to use the credit. And now you're basically making the whole concept of the credit cards much less effective. I also do want to talk about something that a lot of people ask when you try to give them advice on giving credit cards a try. If you are stuck in the boat where you did wait a little too long to get your credit card, now you're in your early 20s or late 20s, early 30s. When you do go try to apply for a credit card, it's going to be a lot harder than if you would have tried right when you were 18. So I've had some friends who tried to go get credit cards once they're a little bit older and they got denied, and they're saying, you know, this kind of sucks because now I'm trying to build credit, but they won't even give me a credit card to start building credit with. Now, the solution to this is really two things, actually. You can get a secured credit card, which basically kind of works like a debit card, but in the end, after proving yourself for a little bit of time, they'll make it like a regular credit card. And a prime example of this is the Amazon credit card that they just launched, and I think also the Apple credit card that they launched, where the way it works is Amazon basically says, you know, give us a deposit of money. So say you pick like $1,000. Now that $1,000 they hold onto and they don't give it back to you right off the bat. And they basically use this as your credit limit to ensure that if you don't pay back, they already have the money. So it's basically less risk to them. And this is how you can build your credit score, because you start off like that. And then after a year of doing so, they'll then make it an actual credit card. And now you kind of took the easy route going like that and taking less risk with the process. And then now you can actually build from there, rather than going to try to get a credit card that you won't get accepted to. And, you know, then basically you applied for that, wasting your time, and now you're not going to want to do another one for a while. So it's basically best to just start off with a secured credit card, or the other thing you can do is start out with a student credit card. Typically, they'll accept people a little bit easier when you're doing a student credit card. The credit limit will be probably pretty low, but you know, you got to just start off small and work your way up, and that's the best way to go about it. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's a bunch of different ways for you guys to keep your credit score up, to raise your credit score, and to make sure that it doesn't drop. Hopefully this helps, and if you guys don't have any credit cards yet, I do have some other videos that go over the benefits of credit cards and just little cool things you can do with credit cards, like traveling for free, getting rewards. So definitely browse the channel and check those out as well. As always, guys, if you did like the video, please give it a like. If you guys want to see more, please subscribe. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys, and I'd love to answer any questions. And if you guys have any other ways that you can raise your credit score, or any other tricks that you guys saw, or any other things that you didn't know that you want to make other people aware of, please leave those in the comments as well. And that's really it, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.